Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about TestNG and the setup of TestNG. The idea of pitching in TestNG classes in the middle of our Selenium classes is moving forward we'll be using more frequently the TestNG concepts. So TestNG tied to or integrated into our Selenium WebDriver program will yield excellent results. So we'll talk more about this and also the advantages of it. The TestNG stands for test next generation. So developers used to use JUnit to perform their unit testing. So think of TestNG as an advanced JUnit. So it comes with number of classes, interfaces and methods that are readily available. So if they are readily available, why not plug into our code and use them? So let's talk about advantages. The best advantage of a TestNG is reporting it without even writing a single line of code. Absolutely with zero effort, you will have excellent reports generated whenever you run your test cases using TestNG. So even if you're doing a manual testing, imagine like we put in some effort to display our test results, right? We write number of test cases planned versus executed versus failed. We generate the reports and we share it with people. So without doing anything, the TestNG reports are generated. Just opening the report, you can share it with anyone, and even for you will know how many test cases are run, what are the test cases that are failed. So it will give you a detailed report. That's one of the best advantages. And coming to the next one, we have something called annotations in TestNG. Annotations always starts with at the rate. They guide your program what to do. So for example, if you see at the rate test, it means that anything next to after this annotation is your test case. So there is something called before test. Before test will actually say there will be some prerequisites for us sometimes to run before even you get started with your test case. So all those steps or all those functionalities you include in your before test annotation. In the same way, there will be after test. There's a set of code that you want to run after your test case is run. So that you have number of annotation, not only these three. You have something called before class, after class, before suite, after suite. So you can guide your program or control your program the way it has to run, what after what. Excellently, you can describe it using these annotations. The next important advantage is assertions. So what is our job? We obviously compare actual versus expected, right? So whatever validations we are doing, right, on the applications, like comparing two values or making sure that a particular part of the code is present in the value, or selecting a value from the drop down, or checking that the value is present in the drop down, everything is properly put in this assert class. So using this class has like number of validation methods in it. So using this class, whenever you put assert dot, as we have seen in our earlier classes, any class name dot will list all the methods. So we can make use best we can take the best use of these methods and automate our code. So let us see how to set up the TestNG program. So for that, I am creating a new Java project, as we have checked in our earlier classes. I name it as TestNG practice and I say finish. And inside my project, I create my package. I say new package, basic TestNG program. I'll say finish. My package is created. Within my package, I create. Okay, it is pulling me some other already existing program. I'm going to delete it and completely rename it. So I will create a new Java project with name practice TestNG, and now I create a package within this called as basic of TestNG. Okay, it is erroring out because always naming convention package should always start with a lowercase. So I have a package within, and within the package I create a class first TestNG program. This is my class name. I don't want to include public static void main here because all the TestNG programs are run with test runner. Unlike Java programs use Java virtual machine to run, so that's why without main they won't run. We used to check this box in earlier classes, but now we don't want to do that. Just say finish and you see your test here. So let's get started. I will create a method public void, it is returning nothing, so I put void test case 1. This is my method. I'll write a system dot out dot println just to print something. In the normal case you'll actually write your actual code here, but for us this is a basic program. I just write I'll just print one line here. My first test ng test case. So I have to specify that this is a test case, right? Now I use annotation here. This is where TestNG will come into picture. So whenever I put annotation, I didn't do anything. I did not add anything, right, to this code. So the way you have to install TestNG is go to help. If you're using Windows machine, click on install new software in the drop down here. Now I click on Eclipse Marketplace because I'm using Mac, and I come to find, please bear with me, system is very slow. Okay, and now I type test ng and enter. See, I already have this installed, so it is saying installed. If your machine doesn't have this, please do install this, and then come back to your program, and the moment you write annotation at the rate test and click here, you find something called add testng. Add JUnit comes by default with your Java program package, but you don't have to add this. We have to click add testng library. Okay, the moment you click that, if you see on the left hand side, you see the testng added already. Now click again, it is erroring out. Import the test class here. Yep. So this is your basic first test case. Now I copy the same code here. Yes, I forgot to mention one more excellent feature. Sorry about that. It has number of multiple test cases can be run in a single program. So I'm renaming this as test case 2, and I'll say my second TestNG test case. So I have basically two test cases here. I used my annotation here. So I will run this as TestNG test. I will say okay. Okay. Go to your console. Okay, you see my first TestNG test case. In console it printed the two system.out.println statements here, and it gave you the test run, test failed, and skipped. So this is how the report looks like. So, it is giving you some more details we never saw when we were straightforward writing programs in Selenium WebDriver. We never saw such kind of test outputs here, test reports. So one more excellent feature here is whenever you refresh this after running, if you come to this project and click on refresh, you see new folder got created automatically. We did not include any lines of code here to write or create a test output folder, isn't it? This is what I was talking about in the reporting section. So if you expand this, you will find something called emailable report. So it will automatically generate this report for you. So open this with the web browser, and this is how the report looks like. It will tell you what is the package name, dot class name, how many test cases are run, how many in this case both are passed, so it looks like very clean report. And we have how many milliseconds, what is the time it has taken for execution, and all the details. Also, if you open this default suite here, there's something called default test.html. Open this in web browser, and this is another report format that you have. So coming back to our program, so the way the test cases are executed is purely alphabetical. So test case, in this case, test case, if I put B here, and if I put something like A here, if it always picks up in the alphabetical order. So if we run this program, first the second test case should be executed. So try to see, open this TestNG. It's running. Okay, open this output console. If you see here, first my second test case got executed first because it picked up in the alphabetical order. So to avoid that, what you have to do is you can set priorities to your test case, like what exactly needs. The lower the priority, the number, I mean, if you give the lower priority, it means that it has higher preference. So for example, I will set this priority equal to 2. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. This should be written at the annotation, not the method. So I'm ruining it. Okay, at the rate test, give priority equal to 2, and for this test, give priority equal to 3, and now I create one more test and give priority equal to 1. Okay, I put this as test case number 3, and priority is 1, and then I give this system.out.println, and I say this is my first test case. So I'm sorry, this is my third test case, right? Yeah. So in the same program, I included 3 test cases. I set the priority 1 for my third test case. So when we run this third test case should run first, and next my first should run, and then second. So the order should be the third, first, and second. So let's run and see how it works. Okay. When you open this console, you can see clearly that my first test case was run, and then my first, based on the priority, the execution order will be depending upon. So total number of test cases are 3, 0 are failed. So let us see, let us simply add one assertion. I told you, right, we'll go more into more about assertions in the next class, but just for us to fail one test case, right, I'm including assert dot. Okay, it is asking me to import something here. Okay. Spelling is wrong. Assert dot. Okay, if you see all the methods here, so just click on assert dot assert equals, give actual versus expected. So actually some 12, number 12, and then you were expected, you don't give 12, give something else like 14, and then C. So definitely actually is not equal to expected here. So this particular test case number 1 should fail. So I will try to run this. I'm showing this just to see how our failed test case looks like. So now if we see this console, right, after running, go back to console. Okay, now you see total number of test cases are 3, passed are 2. It is showing that test case 1 is failed because it did not, as we gave a wrong assert statement there. So it also gives more details about it. So if you come back to your program and click here, test results, so anything which is in red is telling that it is failed. So when you go back to the report, right, let's see how the failed report looks like. Just refresh this and now come back to your emailable report and open with your web browser. Yep, you see this detail report. So it says that, you know, in this particular test case 1 has been failed and 2 test cases are passed. In this way you can easily view your reports and, you know, debug the programs. So this is the basic setup. So try to set TestNG into your program and try to execute this and understand the basics of annotations and, you know, how the report looks like. We'll learn more about assertions in our coming classes. Feel free to post your questions underneath and I'll reply back as soon as possible. Happy coding, guys. Talk to you soon.